Welcome back to the Functional Retirement Podcast, where we get technical about your wealth, philosophical about your purpose, and inspirational on your fitness. I'm your host, Thatcher Taylor, and today we're going to talk about spousal benefits and the rules that a spouse has when it comes to taking their benefit in two very specific strategies, two very specific situations. How you do this could literally be worth thousands in retirement, and one of these reasons is not even available to you anymore. So this is going to apply to the spousal benefit. So assume both spouses are living. And this is best if you're coming into the Social Security decision. So maybe in your 50s, early 60s, you're thinking about how this is all going to play out. The rules change a bit when a spouse dies. There's also a change in some of these rules if there's a disability. So for today, eliminate death and disability from your mind. If you're watching right now on YouTube, you might see an unusual circumstance where there's a bed in the background. It's kind of madness in the room. That's because I just had surgery last Friday, kind of a personal story. So it was on my foot. I can't put any weight on it, so I can't walk upstairs. So my office has become a de facto recovery room and working office. So sorry about that. So here are the two scenarios. One is a spouse taking the spousal benefit early and trying to switch to their own Social Security benefit later, effectively trying to let their own benefit accumulate in the background and then switching to it later when it's larger. Scenario two is a spouse taking their own benefit early and then later taking the spousal benefit. And this process allows a spouse to start taking some benefit early and then getting topped off later with the spousal add-on when their spouse files. One of these is legal and one of these is not. And this whole podcast stemmed from a client question on one of my previous podcast episodes, which I'm going to read here after we go over some terms that are important to know so we're all on the same page. So if you have any questions throughout this or after this, please comment them below and I will help you out. But if you have any other questions about Social Security, maybe this sparks some other questions, please feel free to reach out to me at the email in the comments or the show notes, and I might be able to create a podcast in your honor. So if you want to read more and learn more about this episode, go to propathfinancial.com/spousal benefits to read the complimentary article, and you can listen or watch more. So to continue, we need to discuss some terms that we just mentioned in those two scenarios. The two specific terms are your benefit, your own benefit, versus the spousal benefit. So your benefit and the spousal benefit are two different benefits that come into the Social Security decision. So your benefit is the benefit that is being accrued and calculated based on your own earnings history. And the spousal benefit is if your spouse has accumulated a larger benefit on their own work history, you could, in theory, take 50% of that benefit if it is in fact larger than your own benefit. So this is a big question. And I think this is where the research starts for you first, is figuring out what your benefit would be versus what the spousal benefit would be. The easiest way to do that is to go to ssa.gov, create your online profile, and you'll be able to see your calculation and your benefits. But again, your benefit is if you've worked, you've accumulated enough credits, you have the ability to start accruing your own benefit. That when you choose to take Social Security, you could take your own benefit or you could take the spousal benefit. If your spouse has filed and you are of the proper ages, you could take 50% of your spousal benefit if it is larger than your benefit. So hopefully we're clear on that. Those are the two big elements of what we're going to talk about today. So let's read the question. This question sets the stage. We talked about first the two scenarios. Take the spousal benefit early and switch to your own benefit later, or take your own benefit early and then take the spousal benefit later. So here's the question, and thank you very much for asking this, listener. If there is a 10-year gap in the spouse's age, and we're going to come back to that, Is it possible for the older spouse to take their Social Security at age 70 and for the younger spouse to start spousal benefits at age 62? Then, when the younger spouse turns 70, to take their full benefit, as it will be higher than the spousal benefit. I think this would maximize Social Security for both. Thanks for the information. So I want to break this down a little bit. If there's a 10-year gap in the spouse's age is the first element of this, there doesn't necessarily have to be a 10-year gap. That just might be their particular situation, but it's not uncommon to have a 10-year gap. And then is it possible for the older spouse to take their Social Security at age 70 and the younger spouse to start the spousal benefit at age 62? So that's what we talked about first. That's our first scenario. Then when the younger spouse turns 70, take their full benefit as it will be higher than the spouse benefit amount. So let's break that down really quickly. The younger spouse took their spousal benefit at age 62, and in the background, their full benefit has been delayed 8 years. Their full retirement age would be age 67 or age 66 in 10 months. And then from there, there's an additional 3 years where every single solitary month, that full retirement benefit increases to age 70. So they basically, in the background, tried to maximize their own benefit while taking the spousal benefit along the way. And then they said this would maximize Social Security for both. Thanks for the information. This definitely would maximize Social Security for both. That's why they banned it. This has been outlawed by our beloved Social Security Administration, the US government. This was previously called the file and suspend process, where you take your spousal benefit early, you suspend your benefit, it grows and it grows and it grows, and then you switch over to your benefit. So since 2015, this has now become against the rules. This was a huge change in the Social Security Administration, and it was all built on the Bipartisan Budget Act of 2015. That's when they made some changes to Social Security laws about filing for retirement. I'll link this so you can read about this on the SSA.gov website. But you can no longer do this where you're taking the spousal benefit first at age 62. So you accumulate that benefit for years and years and years. And it doesn't have to be to age 70. It could be to your full retirement age. And then you're going to switch to your own benefit later. So what this rule did, the Bipartisan Budget Act, is it created what's called deemed filing, the deemed filing rule. And that rule specifically focused on the time from age 62 to your full retirement age. So there's a 5-year window where this deemed filing rule applies. And we're going to reference this a couple times, and the deemed filing rule is going to become more in depth here in a little bit. But between 62 and your full retirement age is deemed filing. And this means, as of right now, after 2015, that when you file for either your retirement or your spousal benefit, you are required or deemed to have filed for the other benefit as well. So as of right now, if you file for your Social Security benefit, you don't choose spousal or your own benefit. You file essentially for both of them at that time, and they're going to give you the one that is most likely the most at the time. But in our particular situation here, where it is outlawed, is you do not get to take the spousal benefit early. If you file in between age 62 and age 67, your full retirement age, or even any time after that, it applies after that as well, you will effectively be taking your own benefit unless your spouse applies as well. So to be able to take the spousal benefit, I should drop this Easter egg in there as we continue. To be able to take your spousal benefit, you have to have your spouse already filing. So before we move on to the next scenario, please make sure to follow the Functional Retirement Podcasts if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, Google, or Amazon. And please leave a 5-star review so we can get more reach and continue to educate retirees. The algorithm on these places is really unusual and they really like reviews. So please make sure to go to leave a review. If you're watching this on YouTube, giving you a little wave, please make sure to comment and like and subscribe. So the next scenario is a little bit different. So just to reiterate, spousal benefit, if you take it early, you cannot take your own benefit later. To take the spousal benefit early, your spouse already has to have filed. If your spouse hasn't filed, you're not entitled to the spousal benefit yet. And so you are in turn going to take your own benefit if you really want to take your benefit early, which leads us in the next scenario of taking your own benefit early and waiting for the spousal benefit. They're very different, but they're cut from the same cloth. This process is a really valuable and legal process. So what happens is you take your own benefit early. So you file at age 62, you're deemed filing at age 62. Your spouse, or usually the higher earner or the older spouse, in the client's question, the 10-year older spouse, has not filed for their benefit yet. They have not filed yet. So you can take your own benefit. And instead of in the background, your benefit increasing, we're actually going to leverage in the background your spouse's benefit increasing. So you can take your own benefit at age 62 and you can cash those checks. But all the while, your spouse's benefit could be growing in the background. And usually it's the bigger one. I mean, I don't think it will be 10 years for you. Maybe it's just 3 years or 4 years. So when they file at some point in the future, maybe it's age 70, but remember that age difference. We'll come back to it. They file at age 70. At that point, you could potentially get the spousal add-on. And if that spousal add-on or 50% of the spousal benefit is bigger than your benefit, that could bump you up to 50% of your spousal benefit. So let's look at that in a numbered scenario. Let's say your spouse at age 70 is going to get $4,000, pretty close to the maximum benefit. Let's say you're going to get $4,000. And let's say at your age 62, you're going to get $1,200. So at 62, you file for your own benefit and you're going to get $1,200. And then at some point in the future, say in 5 years, your spouse hits age 70. And at age 70, they collect their $4,000 benefit. That puts you from age 62 to age 67 now at your full retirement age. You could then claim the spousal add-on because at that point, 50% of their benefit is $2,000. So your $1,200, and assuming some cost of living adjustments, is now going to be topped off with the spousal add-on to get you that $2,000. And remember, it is kind of a top off. It's two parts where they're just going to get you the spousal add-on. And so they're going to give you an extra $800 to get you to your 50%. This is a completely viable way to manage your benefits if it makes sense for you. But remember, for you to get the spousal add-on, your spouse has to apply for their own benefits. So I hope you aren't super confused at this point. In fact, I hope it made it a little more clear. But if you want to read more about this, go to propathfinancial.com/spousal benefit. That's PROPATH financial.com//spousal benefits for the supplemental article that's going to give you some more information. And you can also listen and watch if you would like to. And then if you want to reach out to me with more questions, my personal email is in the show notes. So one thing I've referenced a couple times is age. These age differences matter because a lot of this, the reason we're choosing Social Security benefits is because we want to maximize them. One, they're entitled to us, but two, the main reason we're trying to dive deep into Social Security benefits is we want to maximize the amount that we're going to receive in our lifetime. And one way to evaluate when to take your benefit is based on age. You have to evaluate age. So in the question, remember, the original listener that asked the question gave a 10-year gap in ages, but maybe it's 5 years. So let's say we went with option 2, where the spouse that has a smaller benefit starts taking their own benefit at age 62. The older spouse waits to age 67 to maximize their benefit because at age 70, I should say, they wait to age 70 to maximize their benefit because at age 67 is the full retirement benefit. But every month or the 3 years after it's age 70, that maximizes your benefit. And then you turn it on the spousal benefit and you bump up your own benefit to 50% of the spousal benefit. There's obviously an age gap. The reason this scenario could work is if the older spouse passes away, you now get to take over their benefit for the remainder of your life. So the $4,000 benefit that we referred to in the example before, let's say they live to age 70 or from age 70 to 80. So they live 10 more years. And you're 5 years younger, 10 years younger, whatever it may be. You get to now take that benefit for the remainder of your life. Let's say you live to 85 or 90. You got 15 more years of a larger benefit because you maximized it and waited. Whereas if the spouse took an earlier benefit, you're not going to get that larger benefit anymore, because as soon as you take your Social Security benefits, you lock that amount in, not including inflation adjustments. Everyone gets inflation adjustments, but you lock that amount in. So the age matters. How long you're going to live matters. What your health is like matters. So obviously we don't have a crystal ball. I don't know how long you're going to live. I don't even know how long I'm going to live. But it's reasonable to assume, based on your health, your activity level, how long you may live, your genetics, how long family members live, you may be able to assume how long you may live. The break even for Social Security is usually around 82 to 84, which is about the expected lifespan at the moment. They work these numbers really well. But if you think you're going to go longer than that, it's better to wait in most cases. If you think you're going to pass away before that, it's better to take your benefit early and try to maximize it. But in this case, if there's a gap in age, you might be able to maximize your benefit by taking your benefit early and then putting the spousal add-on later because your spouse delayed to get the maximum benefit. And then that maximum benefit will last throughout your lifetime. When I run Social Security scenarios, I spit out as many options as are possible. Some clients, I get 5 options. There's usually 5 opportunities to maximize Social Security. When I give a Social Security analysis in my financial planning, it's one element of the whole retirement planning process. And the ones a lot of time that give the maximum amount of lifetime benefit are the ones where the spousal add-on lasted longer and you took the benefit early at age 62. That's usually the one that lasts the longest and provides the most benefit, assuming lifespan, how long they live. So it's a really valuable opportunity. But the biggest thing was to be clear here that you can no longer take the spousal benefit first and then let yours delay and add it on later. It's no longer allowed. So this is one element of the retirement planning journey, trying to build in your guaranteed income. But if you have any more questions or you want a more comprehensive evaluation of everything from your investments to your other income, to your income distribution strategy, to your insurance, to your estate planning, and to goal maximization in retirement, you can contact me below. Go to propathfinancial.com, PROPATH financial.com, and click the Get Started, fill out the little questionnaire, and I'll reach out and set up a time to chat with you more about your goals and how ProPath Financial may be of assistance. But if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, follow, comment, leave reviews, do all the things. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week.